"Daddy, please, help her." The cry of the 7-year-old girl echoed through the parking lot. Marcus Cole, a retired Navy SEAL, was in the parking lot with his daughter when he saw 3 men dragging a woman toward a van. Every instinct told him to walk away. He was with his child. But when one of the attackers pulled out a knife, Marcus made a choice. 60 seconds later, the 3 men were on the ground, unconscious. The next morning, a Navy Admiral knocked on his door. The woman Marcus had saved was the Admiral's daughter, and the 3 men were part of something much bigger than a random attack. Where are you watching this story from? Let us know in the comments. If this journey of valor touched you, consider subscribing to Silent Veterans and help us give a voice to more incredible stories of our silent veterans. Oceanside, California, a coastal city 20 miles north of San Diego, home to Marine Corps Base Camp Pendleton and a large community of active-duty military and veterans. The city had a split personality: tourist-friendly beaches on one side, working-class neighborhoods on the other, and a thin veneer of safety that sometimes cracked even in broad daylight. It was 4:30 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon in October. The California sun was still bright, hanging low on the western horizon, casting long golden shadows across the parking lot. The Oceanside Gateway Shopping Center was moderately busy, the after-work crowd just starting to arrive, mingling with stay-at-home parents finishing their errands before the dinner rush. The asphalt radiated the day's accumulated heat, and the air carried the faint smell of the nearby ocean mixed with car exhaust and hot pavement. Marcus Cole walked out of the Target store carrying 2 shopping bags and holding the hand of his 7-year-old daughter, Emma. Marcus was 39 years old, built like a middleweight fighter, 5'11", 185 pounds, all lean muscle and old scars. His dark hair was cut military short, flecked with gray at the temples. His face was weathered, the kind of weathering that came from years spent in deserts, mountains, and places that didn't appear on maps. He wore faded jeans, a gray-fitted t-shirt that showed his tattooed forearms, a tactical olive-green cap, and well-worn Merrell hiking boots. He squinted against the afternoon sun, wishing he'd brought his sunglasses from the truck. He'd been out of the Navy for 3 years now, medically retired after a training accident that destroyed his left knee and ended his career with SEAL Team 5. He didn't talk about it. He'd taken the disability check, the handshake, and the "thank you for your service," and he'd moved on. Now he worked as a contractor doing security assessments for corporate clients, lived in a modest 3-bedroom house in Oceanside, and spent every spare moment with Emma, his entire world. Emma skipped beside him, clutching a new stuffed unicorn she'd convinced him to buy, her blonde hair catching the sunlight. "Daddy, can we get ice cream on the way home?" "It's still pretty early, Bug," Marcus said, smiling down at her and checking his watch. "We need to get home and start dinner soon. You've got homework, remember?" "But it's so hot, please." "Just a little one," Marcus chuckled. The October afternoon was warmer than expected, still in the mid-70s even this late in the day. "We'll see. Let's get to the truck first." Marcus was about to continue toward his vehicle when he heard it, a sound that didn't belong. A woman's voice, sharp and frightened, cut off mid-shout. His head snapped up, his body going still. Old instincts, muscle memory from 1,000 hours of training, flooded back instantly. Across the parking lot, maybe 60 yards away, near a dark blue panel van parked in a relatively isolated section between 2 larger SUVs, he saw them. 3 men and 1 woman. The woman was young, maybe mid-20s, with long brown hair and wearing business casual attire, black slacks, a white blouse, and a dark navy blazer. One of the men had her by the arm, dragging her toward the open side door of the van. She was fighting, trying to pull away, but he was too strong. The second man was blocking her from the other side, herding her like livestock. The third man stood near the van's driver door, scanning the parking lot like a lookout. Despite the moderately busy parking lot, the positioning of the larger vehicles created a visual barrier. Most shoppers couldn't see what was happening unless they walked directly past, and no one was. Marcus's brain processed the scene in less than a second. Abduction in progress. His first instinct was pure operator instinct. Assess, plan, execute. His second instinct, the one that came slower but hit harder, was the civilian instinct. I have my daughter with me. This isn't my fight. Call 911 and keep Emma safe. He pulled out his phone and dialed. The call connected immediately. 911, what's your emergency? I'm at Oceanside Gateway Shopping Center, main parking lot, southeast section near the Target entrance. There's an abduction in progress. 3 males, 1 female victim, dark blue van, California plates. Marcus was reading off the license plate when he heard the woman scream again, and then Emma saw it. Daddy! Emma's voice was high and terrified. Daddy, that man has a knife! Marcus's eyes snapped back to the scene. One of the men, the one holding the woman's arm, had pulled a folding knife from his pocket and pressed it against her ribs. The woman went rigid, her resistance collapsing into frozen terror. Marcus's training screamed at him. Weapon in play. Victim's life in immediate danger. Seconds matter. But his fatherhood screamed louder. You have Emma. You can't risk her. Stay back. The 911 operator's voice crackled in his ear. Sir, officers are en route. ETA 6 minutes. Do not engage. Stay on the line and... 6 minutes. That woman would be in the van and gone in 30 seconds. Marcus looked down at Emma. Her face was pale, her eyes wide, the stuffed unicorn clutched to her chest. She was terrified, but she was also looking up at him with absolute trust, the way only a 7-year-old can look at her father, like he could fix anything, stop anything, save anyone. Daddy, Emma whispered, her voice shaking. Please help her. Marcus's jaw tightened. Every tactical bone in his body knew this was a bad idea. He was outnumbered. He was unarmed. He had his daughter with him. This violated every rule of smart decision-making. But the woman was about to disappear into that van, and if she did, she was dead or worse. Marcus made his choice. He knelt down in front of Emma, keeping his voice calm and steady. Bug, I need you to listen to me very carefully. See that lady over there? He pointed at a middle-aged woman loading groceries into her car about 20 yards away. I need you to run over to her right now and stay with her. Do not move until I come get you. Understand? Emma's eyes filled with tears. Daddy, what are you... Emma. His voice was firm but not harsh. Right now, baby. Go. She ran. Marcus stood up, dropped his phone on the ground still connected to 911 and started walking toward the van. His body moved on autopilot, his mind shifting into the cold, detached place it had lived in for 15 years of combat operations. Breathing slowed. Heart rate dropped. Vision sharpened. Adrenaline flooded his system. But his hands didn't shake. He covered the 60 yards in 20 seconds, moving fast but not running, using parked cars as cover, approaching from an angle that kept him in the men's blind spot. The men didn't see him coming. The engagement. Marcus assessed the threats as he closed the distance. Threat 1, the man holding the woman with the knife. Mid-30s, 6 feet, maybe 200 pounds, wearing a brown leather jacket. The knife was a cheap folding blade, maybe 4 inches, held in his right hand against the woman's ribs. Primary threat. Threat 2, the man on the woman's other side, hurting her. Late 20s, 5'10", 180 pounds, wearing a gray hoodie and dark jeans. No visible weapon but hands-free. Secondary threat. Threat 3, the lookout near the driver's door. Early 40s, 5'9", stocky build, 220 pounds, wearing a denim jacket. He was the one Marcus needed to neutralize first because he'd see Marcus coming. Marcus closed to within 10 feet before Threat 3 noticed him. The man's head turned, his eyes widening in surprise and then suspicion. Hey man, you lost, Threat 3 said, his voice carrying a note of false friendliness covering real aggression. Marcus didn't answer. He didn't slow down. He just walked straight at him. Threat 3's hand moved toward his waistband, reaching for a weapon, maybe a gun. But Marcus was already inside his reach. Marcus's left hand shot out, grabbing Threat 3's right wrist and trapping it against his body before the weapon cleared. His right hand came up in a short, brutal palm strike to the man's chin, snapping his head back. Before Threat 3 could recover, Marcus pivoted, used the man's own momentum against him, and drove his knee into the side of Threat 3's leg, buckling him. The man went down hard, his head bouncing off the van's side panel with a hollow thunk. He didn't get up. Elapsed time, 3 seconds. Threat 2, the man in the hoodie, reacted faster than Marcus expected. He released the woman and charged, his hands reaching for Marcus's throat. Marcus sidestepped, grabbed the incoming arm, and used a simple judo throw, osotogari, to redirect Threat 2's momentum straight into the ground. The man's back hit the asphalt with a sound like a side of beef hitting a butcher's block. The air exploded out of his lungs. Marcus dropped a knee onto his solar plexus, driving the last bit of fight out of him, and the man's eyes rolled back. Elapsed time, 8 seconds total. Threat 1, the man with the knife, finally processed what was happening. He shoved the woman aside, and she stumbled, falling to her knees. He turned toward Marcus, the knife held low in a prison grip, edge up, ready to gut. "Big mistake, hero," Threat 1 snarled. Marcus didn't respond. He just watched the knife, waiting for the attack. It came fast. A straight thrust toward Marcus's stomach, aimed to disembowel. Marcus's hand blurred, catching Threat 1's wrist mid-thrust. He twisted, hard and fast, applying a standing wrist lock that forced the knife to drop. Before it hit the ground, Marcus drove his elbow into the man's face, breaking his nose in a spray of blood. The man staggered back, and Marcus followed, sweeping his legs and driving him face first into the side of the van. Threat 1 crumpled. Elapsed time, 15 seconds total. Marcus stood over the 3 unconscious men, breathing hard but controlled. His hands were shaking now. Post-adrenaline dump. He turned to the woman, who was still on the ground, staring at him with wide, terrified eyes. "You okay?" Marcus asked, his voice steady. She nodded, unable to speak. "Stay down. Police are coming." Marcus walked back toward where he'd left Emma. His daughter was standing with the middle-aged woman, clutching her unicorn, tears streaming down her face. The moment she saw Marcus, she broke into a run and crashed into his arms. "Daddy," she sobbed into his chest. "I'm okay, Bug. I'm okay." He held her tight, his own hands trembling now. The reality of what he'd just done, what he'd risked, crashing down on him. Behind him, sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. Several shoppers had finally noticed the commotion and were standing at a distance, some filming with their phones, others calling 911. The bright afternoon sun cast everything in stark relief, nothing hidden in shadows, everything exposed and visible. The Oceanside Police Department took statements for 2 hours. Marcus sat in the back of a patrol car with Emma asleep on his lap, wrapped in a blanket a kind officer had provided. The afternoon sun was setting now, the golden light fading to pink and orange. Detectives asked him to walk through what happened, step by step. He kept it simple, factual, leaving out the part where every move he'd made had been drilled into him by the world's most elite military training. The woman he'd saved, her name was Lieutenant Sarah Brennan, a Navy intelligence officer stationed at Naval Base San Diego, gave her statement separately. She was shaken but unharmed. The 3 attackers were arrested and taken to the hospital under guard. 2 had concussions, 1 had a broken nose and a fractured wrist. All 3 would survive to face charges: attempted kidnapping, assault with a deadly weapon, conspiracy. A detective, a grizzled veteran named Sergeant Rodriguez, sat down next to Marcus at one point and spoke quietly. "That was some serious moves back there, Mr. Cole. You ex-military." "Navy," Marcus said simply. Rodriguez nodded knowingly. "SEAL?" Marcus didn't answer, which was answer enough. "Well, you did good. That woman would be dead if you hadn't stepped in." Rodriguez paused. "But you know you got lucky, right? 3 on 1, 1 with a knife when your kid nearby. That could have gone south real fast." "I know," Marcus said quietly, looking down at Emma's sleeping face. "Believe me, I know." By the time they let Marcus go, it was past 7 p.m. He carried Emma to his truck, buckled her into her booster seat, and drove home in silence, his mind replaying every second of the fight, cataloging every mistake, every risk. When he got home, he carried Emma upstairs, tucked her into bed, and sat on the edge of her mattress watching her sleep for a long time. He'd saved a life today, but he'd also put his daughter in danger, and he didn't know how to feel about that. The knock on the door came at 8:30 hours the next morning. Marcus had just finished making Emma breakfast, pancakes and bacon, her favorite, and was packing her lunch for school when he heard it. 3 sharp knocks, the kind that carried authority. He looked through the peephole and felt his stomach drop. Standing on his front porch was a man in a navy dress uniform. Not just any uniform. Service dress blues with a chest full of ribbons and 2 silver stars on each shoulder. A rear admiral. Marcus opened the door slowly. "Can I help you, sir?" The admiral was in his late 50s, tall and fit, with iron gray hair and the kind of bearing that came from decades of command. His name tag read, Radam T. Brennan. Oh, hell, Marcus thought. Sarah's father. "Chief Petty Officer Cole," the admiral said, his voice formal but not unfriendly. "May I come in?" Marcus blinked. "Sir, I'm retired. It's just Marcus now. Once a SEAL, always a SEAL, Chief. May I come in?" Marcus stepped aside. The admiral entered, his eyes quickly scanning the modest living room, the worn couch, the coffee table covered in Emma's coloring books, the framed photos on the mantel showing Marcus in uniform with his team. Emma peeked around the corner from the kitchen, her eyes wide. "Daddy, who's that?" "Go finish your breakfast, bug. I'll be there in a minute." She disappeared back into the kitchen. Admiral Brennan turned to face Marcus. "Chief, I'm here because of what happened yesterday afternoon. The woman you saved, Lieutenant Sarah Brennan, is my daughter." Marcus nodded slowly. "I figured, sir. I'm glad she's okay. She is okay because of you." The admiral's voice softened slightly. "I read the police report this morning. I also read your service record. SEAL Team 5, 12 years active duty, 3 combat deployments, Navy Cross, 2 Silver Stars, Purple Heart. Medically retired 3 years ago due to injuries sustained during advanced training." Marcus's jaw tightened. "Sir, with all due respect, why are you here?" Admiral Brennan reached into his uniform jacket and pulled out a business card. He handed it to Marcus. "I'm here because those 3 men you put in the hospital yesterday afternoon, they're not random criminals. They're part of a human trafficking ring that's been operating out of San Diego for the past 2 years. We've been tracking them, NCIS, FBI, local PD. They've taken at least 7 women we know of. None of them have been found." Marcus felt his blood run cold. "You're saying Sarah was targeted?" "Yes. My daughter works in naval intelligence. She's been part of the task force investigating this ring. Somehow, they identified her. Yesterday afternoon was an attempted kidnapping, but it was also a message. We can get to you." The admiral's eyes hardened. "You stopped them, and in doing so, you gave us something we didn't have before. 3 suspects in custody who are looking at 25 years to life. They're already starting to talk, trying to cut deals. Because of you, we're about to take down the entire operation." Marcus didn't know what to say. He'd thought he was stopping a random abduction. He hadn't realized he'd walked into the middle of an ongoing federal investigation. "Chief," the admiral continued, "I came here for 2 reasons. The first is to thank you personally for saving my daughter's life. If you hadn't been there, if you hadn't acted," his voice cracked slightly, "I would have lost her." Marcus nodded. "I'm glad I could help, sir. But I have a question." "Go ahead. Why are you really here?" Admiral Brennan smiled faintly. "Because I want to offer you a job." Admiral Brennan sat down on Marcus's couch without being invited, the casual move of someone used to command. "The 3 suspects you put down yesterday are talking, but they're small fish. The people running this trafficking ring are smart, well-funded, and connected. We need someone on the inside. Someone who can move in circles where federal agents stick out. Someone with your skill set." Marcus shook his head. "Sir, I'm retired. I'm out of that life." "I understand, but hear me out." The admiral leaned forward. "This isn't active duty. This is contract work. Short term, 6 months, maybe less. You'd be working with NCIS and FBI, helping identify targets, gathering intelligence, and when necessary, providing protection for witnesses and victims. The pay is $180,000 for 6 months, plus benefits, and it's flexible. You set your hours around your daughter's schedule. Marcus opened his mouth to refuse, but the Admiral held up a hand. Before you say no, let me tell you what we're up against. This ring has taken women, some of them military, some civilians, and sold them overseas. We believe they're operating out of multiple locations in Southern California. Every day we don't shut them down, more women disappear. We need people like you, Chief. People who can do what you did yesterday. Marcus looked toward the kitchen, where Emma was humming softly to herself. Sir, I have a daughter. I can't put myself in danger like that anymore. I understand. And I wouldn't ask if I didn't think you were the right person. But think about this. Those men targeted my daughter. What's to stop them from targeting yours? The words hit Marcus like a punch. He stood up, his fists clenching. Are you threatening my daughter? No, the Admiral said calmly. I'm stating a fact. These people don't care about rules. They don't care about consequences. If they think you're a threat, and after yesterday you are a threat, they'll come after you. Or worse, they'll come after Emma to get to you. The best way to protect your daughter is to help us take them down. Permanently. Marcus's mind raced. He wanted to say no. He wanted to shut the door, forget about trafficking rings and federal investigations, and just live his quiet life with Emma. But the Admiral was right. He'd put himself on their radar yesterday, and if there was even a chance they'd come after Emma. I need to think about it, Marcus said finally. Admiral Brennan stood. That's fair, but I need an answer by tomorrow. Here's my card. Call me when you decide. He walked to the door, then paused. Chief, one more thing. Sarah wanted me to give you this. He handed Marcus a folded piece of paper. Then he left. Marcus unfolded the paper. It was a handwritten note. Thank you for saving my life. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't been there. My father told me you have a daughter. I hope she knows how lucky she is to have a dad like you. If there's ever anything I can do for you, please don't hesitate to ask. You're a hero, Sarah. Marcus stared at the note for a long time. Emma was in bed, finally asleep after asking Marcus 100 questions about the man with the stars on his shoulders. Marcus sat on his back porch, a beer in his hand, staring at the Admiral's business card. His phone rang. It was Jake Martinez, his former SEAL teammate and best friend, now working as a contractor in Virginia. Yo, Marcus. Heard you went full vigilante yesterday. You okay? Marcus sighed. News travels fast. SEAL community, man. Everyone knows everything. So what's the deal? You really take down 3 guys in a parking lot with your kid watching? Yeah. Jesus, man. That's some Jason Bourne shit. It was stupid, Marcus said. I had Emma with me. I should have stayed out of it. But you didn't. Because that's who you are. Jake's voice softened. Marcus, you can't turn it off. The training, the instincts, they're part of you. You see someone in trouble, you help. That's not a flaw. That's what makes you a good man. Marcus took a long drink of his beer. The Admiral offered me a job. Wants me to help take down the trafficking ring. Jake was quiet for a moment. What did you say? I said I'd think about it. What's there to think about? I have Emma, Jake. I can't put her at risk. You're already at risk. You stepped into their world yesterday. Now you're a target whether you like it or not. The question is, do you sit back and wait for them to come or do you take the fight to them? Marcus knew Jake was right. But it didn't make the decision easier. 2 days later, Marcus called Admiral Brennan. Sir, I'll do it. 6 months. But I need your word. If anything happens to me, you make sure Emma's taken care of. You have my word, Chief. Welcome aboard. 6 months later, the NCIS and FBI Joint Task Force successfully dismantled the trafficking ring. 17 suspects were arrested. 9 women were rescued. The operation made national news, though Marcus's name was never mentioned. He'd insisted on anonymity to protect Emma. On the last day of his contract, Admiral Brennan called Marcus into his office. Chief, I wanted to thank you personally. You were instrumental in taking these bastards down. You saved lives. Just doing my part, sir. I have one more question for you. The Admiral leaned back in his chair. What are your plans now? Are you going back to corporate security assessments? Marcus smiled. Actually, I've been thinking about something else. There are a lot of veterans like me, guys who got out and don't know what to do with themselves. I want to start a program, training veterans to work in protective services, helping them transition to civilian life. Give them purpose again. Admiral Brennan smiled. That sounds like a damn good idea, Chief. Let me know if you need any help getting it started. I will, sir. As Marcus left the office, he felt something he hadn't felt in years. Purpose. He'd spent 3 years feeling like a piece of himself was missing. Now he understood. He wasn't done serving. He'd just found a new way to do it. Heroes don't always wear uniforms. Sometimes they're just fathers in a parking lot who refuse to look away when someone needs help. If you're a veteran struggling to find your purpose after service, remember, your skills, your training, your heart, they still matter. Find a new mission. Protect those who can't protect themselves. Serve in whatever way you can. The fight isn't over. It just looks different now. Once a warrior, always a warrior. Never stop serving.